Chosen ones, the message you're about to hear is a divine revelation from the throne of heaven. If you find yourself here today, know this: it's no accident. God led you here. This message is not for everyone. It's for those who obeyed God when it didn't make sense, for those who gave even when they had little, for those who smiled through pain, praised under pressure, and chose faith when fear whispered in the background. You did something. It may not have seemed significant to others. No trumpet sounded, no crowd clapped, but God saw it, and heaven responded. The angels rejoiced. God laughed, not in mockery, but in delight. What you did, though small to the world, was enormous in the spirit. Your obedience, your quiet yes, your unseen acts of love or surrender shook the heavens. And now, what's coming next is not just a blessing, it's a reward for the faith that made God smile. Take a breath and know this is your confirmation. God understands you. He is not disappointed in you. He is drawing near to you. Before we go deeper, if you feel this message is for you, like it. If your spirit is stirred, subscribe. Drop your city and local time in the comments so we can pray for exhausted warriors around the world. To those of you sowing into this message, whether through the pinned link or via super thanks, know this: heaven sees it. Your seed is not a tip or payment. It is a prophetic act of faith. You're not giving to man but sowing into divine alignment, declaring with your sacrifice that God is your provider, your sustainer, your source. And God says to you now, because you gave when it cost you, I will provide when it seems impossible. Because you trusted me with what was in your hand, I will astonish you with what's in mine. This kind of giving moves heaven. It speaks louder than words ever could. Now, let's dive deeper. Let's break down this truth, layer by layer, like teaching a newborn to walk. You might ask, does God really laugh? The answer is yes, and the Bible confirms it. But we must carefully understand the nature of his laughter. When we hear that God laughs, many think of judgment. In Psalms 2:37, God laughs at the wicked because their rebellion is foolish before his power. Psalm 2:4 says, He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. This is laughter in the face of prideful disobedience. However, today, we're focusing on a different kind of laughter, the laughter of delight, the joy of a father watching his child take a fragile but fearless step of faith. This isn't the laughter of judgment, but of deep, divine affection, the kind of joy a loving father expresses when he sees courage wrapped in weakness. Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine a toddler, unsteady, taking their first bold step toward the loving arms of a parent. The parent doesn't scold. The parent doesn't criticize the stumble. Instead, they laugh with joy. They smile, tears in their eyes. Their heart bursts with delight. This is what happened in the spiritual realm. You took a step that made God laugh with joy. You dared to trust him. You moved forward when everything around you said to stay still. And in your fragile obedience, he found delight. Heaven's laughter wasn't mockery, it was a celebration. You made God smile. You made him laugh. Now, let's go even deeper. Some of you may not even realize it, but what you did was greater in the eyes of God than you think. You didn't part the Red Sea. You didn't raise the dead. You didn't preach to thousands. You didn't build an ark or call down fire from heaven, but you did something even greater. You obeyed when it hurt. You obeyed in secret. You obeyed in tears. You obeyed when no one else would have known if you hadn't. And that obedience, quiet and unnoticed by others, shook heaven, made an eternal impact. Your decision, though unseen by others, sent waves through the heavens. You touched the heart of the Father, not through performance, but through surrender. And in that surrender, heaven rejoiced. Let's explore the acts that caused heaven to rejoice over you. First, you forgave when you could have fought. You were wronged, lied to, betrayed, and your heart shattered. The desire to retaliate burned within you, but you chose the narrow road. You released those who hurt you and chose peace, even when there was no applause, no recognition. But in that moment, God leaned forward in his throne, smiled, and whispered, "That's my child. That's what I look like." Forgiveness, though not celebrated by man, is powerful in the eyes of God. As Matthew 6:14 reminds us, "For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you." In that moment, you mirrored heaven itself. Second, you gave when you didn't have enough. God nudged your spirit to bless, to give, even when bills piled up and your own needs loomed large. Instead of holding back, you opened your hand. That seed, small in the eyes of the world, thundered in the spirit. Just like the widow in Mark 12:42-44, who gave 2 mites, Jesus saw what no one else saw. She gave more than all the others, not by the amount, but by the faith behind it. God isn't impressed by amounts, He is moved by faith. Your act of trust pierced heaven like a trumpet. Third, you trusted when there was no sign. You waited on a word, held on to a promise, yet nothing shifted. Days and weeks passed with no visible change. Still, you remained faithful, praying, worshiping, and declaring, "Lord, I believe." This kind of trust is holy, and as Hebrews 11:6 says, without faith, it is impossible to please God. You pleased Him, not by the results, but by your raw faith. When everything around you said give up, you stood firm, and heaven counted it as righteousness. Fourth, you chose righteousness in a wicked world. When temptation whispered, you walked away. When gossip filled the room, you stayed silent. When dishonesty would have been easier, you clung to integrity. No applause came from the crowd, no reward from the world, but heaven saw it, angels marked it. Your quiet decision to walk upright lit a flame on heaven's altar. You chose Him over comfort, character over convenience. That choice, that unseen moment, carries eternal weight. Now, let's go even deeper. In Luke 15:10 it says, "There is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repentant." A quiet decision to turn your heart back to God causes heaven to celebrate. The world may not see it, the crowd may not post it, but heaven erupts in joy. This reveals a powerful truth. Heaven celebrates what the earth ignores. The world may clap for wealth, but heaven claps for repentance. People praise popularity, but heaven honors purity. While the earth exalts talent, heaven responds to transformation. You may have felt unseen, but heaven was watching. Heaven rejoiced. That's why Jesus said, "The first shall be last, and the last shall be first." Matthew 19:30. Heaven's value system flips the script. What the world sees as low, God lifts high. What man calls foolish, God crowns with favor. Your prayer, your fasting, your quiet yes to God, though it seemed insignificant, was massive in the realm of eternity. It moved angels. It marked your name in heaven's records. What you thought was small was, in fact, huge. You didn't just make a choice, you made an eternal impact. Obedience is about to bear fruit in the light. Your faith, though unseen by others, has been noticed by heaven, and it is being rewarded in ways beyond your imagination. You may not have received recognition or applause on earth, but in the spirit, your quiet acts of surrender and trust have created a ripple effect that reaches the throne of God. Every sacrifice, every moment of obedience, no matter how small it seemed, has been etched in the records of heaven. You were faithful in the hidden places, when it was hardest, when your strength was waning, and when the world was silent to your struggle. And because you chose to obey, even when it was painful, even when it didn't make sense, heaven is about to release a reward that will be undeniable. God doesn't reward in small measures, He rewards in abundance. Your obedience, your silent yes, is about to be honored in a way that will leave no doubt that heaven saw every moment. The applause of men fades, but the honor of heaven is eternal. Just as Matthew 6:6 says, "Thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly." Your secret acts of faith are becoming a testimony of God's goodness. You are stepping into a season where your quiet obedience will be openly celebrated, where what was once hidden will now be made manifest for all to see. Heaven is rejoicing, and soon, so will the earth. Keep walking in faith, for the reward is coming, and it is beyond what you could have ever dreamed. Your private tears will be reaped in the light with joy. Psalm 126:5 says, "They that sow in tears shall reap in joy." This is not just poetic, it's a promise you've planted through your obedience. Now comes the harvest, and the reward is not just peace, but open recognition from God Himself. Heaven is no longer silent. The release has begun. Hold on, chosen one, the reward is on its way. Let's simplify this. You weren't living for applause. You weren't chasing platforms or trying to be seen. You simply wanted to be faithful. You lived for an audience of one, not to impress others or gain praise, but because, deep down, you loved God more than anything. You weren't perfect, but your heart was sincere, and that sincerity, that quiet devotion, caught heaven's attention. While others chased titles, followers, and fame, God saw your heart, and He said, That one right there, that's mine. That's a heart after me. Just like David, the shepherd boy who was overlooked, unqualified, and not the tallest, strongest, or most admired, yet chosen for his heart posture. 1 Samuel 16:7 reminds us, "For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart." You may not fit the mold, may not have the accolades, but your heart said yes, and when you obeyed, when you followed through in love, faith, and humility, heaven danced. That's what matters. That's why you were chosen. Here's where this message becomes your charge. Now that you know heaven rejoiced, don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't grow weary in doing good. Let this truth fuel your fire. Keep obeying even when it's hard. Keep trusting even when it's silent. Keep sowing even when it stretches you. Keep praying even when the answers seem delayed. Obedience isn't a one-time act, it's a lifestyle of devotion. Every step you take in faith continues to echo in the heavens. Why? Because the next laugh of God will not just be in heaven, it will be on earth. Psalm 126:2 says, "Then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the heathen, The Lord hath done great things for them." What started in the secret place, what began as heaven's hidden joy over your obedience, will soon become a public testimony. What made God smile in private will make you rejoice in public. Your harvest is coming. Your mouth will be filled with laughter. What began with heaven celebrating, you will end with the world seeing him. Chosen one, hear this deeply. That moment you thought was small, heaven recorded it. That decision you made in secret, the one no one else saw, no one else applauded, sent a ripple through the spirit. You thought it was quiet, but it roared in the unseen realm. You thought it was unnoticed, but it became a melody in the throne room. God laughed, heaven rejoiced, the angels leaned in. Why? Because, in a world that bends to pressure, you stood in obedience. In a generation chasing applause, you chose surrender. And that is rare. You did the hard thing. You did the right thing. You did the faithful thing. And heaven took notice. You didn't move crowds. You moved the heart of God. So, as you step into your next season, walk with your head high. Walk like one marked by heaven, because you are seen, you are honored, you are celebrated. The reward is on its way. The breakthrough is near. The joy will overflow. What God felt because of your obedience is not fading, it's building. And when the time comes, the world will see the evidence of what heaven already knows. You are his, and he is well pleased.